Rock music has redefined and defined generations of history at one time or another. Rock has always been a medium of communication that aligns with counterculture and anti establishment views. Rock has always been a voice in the ethos of American culture and has impacted the world on a global stage. I say all this to set the precedence for the birth of rock music. The history of rock can be traced back to the blues and in some roots in country music. These genres morphed together in the late 1940s to create a different sound aided with the newly invented electric guitar. This hardened new sound was completely different from what popular music was at that time. Artists such as Chuck Berry paved the way for further artists with his songs such as Johnny B. Good and Roll Over Beethoven. Rock would be further revolutionized in the 60s with groups such as the Rolling Stones, who greatly changed rock by embracing the idea of a band. They expanded musically from just singles to full on compositions such as albums. Rock greatly impacted that decade at the time where anti Vietnam sentiment was such a popular opinion. The late 70s rolled around, and this is the time where rock became a predominant force in popular music, with bands such as Led Zeppelin evolving the genre again, gearing it towards a far more technical and darker tone. The ideas of rock just being aggressive 12 bar blues vanished completely and became dated, with artists expanding their sound and experimenting. A prime example of this would be Pink Floyd, which imbued their art with a more psychedelic approach than other bands at the time. As the 70s ended, the music and rock took a hard left. With bands such as the Sex Pistols and the Clash, the song structures greatly simplified. From the massive compositions that Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd would produce, songs simplified and the lengths were cut almost in half or more. These songs became far more aggressive, and this would be the birth of punk rock. Punk rock would soon lose mainstream appeal though, but like all subgenres of rock, it would go to the underground and it would thrive there. The 80s saw a decade where rock became over commercialized and oversaturated, with bands such as Journey and Def Leppard selling out stadiums and producing ballads. The audience would grow stale to the romanticized lifestyle that was portrayed by these groups. This allowed for alternative music to become popular in the late 80s and early 90s. Bands such as Nirvana and Soundgarden brought the genre back to a more introverted period where songwriting about personal issues and other topics became a major trend in the genre. This would continue until around the late 90s, where the alternative scene became far less popular due to the same issues that the 90s faced, which was oversaturation. The 2000s saw bands such as Linkin Park redefine the genre by introducing elements of hip hop and electronica into their song and their own sound. Rock will always have a place in the music scene, whether it be in the underground or in mainstream light. Rock has lost popularity today, but at the same time, some of the best music is now being produced because of the newfound freedom artists have. That's due to online streaming and other avenues that weren't available during the 80s and 90s because of record label control that controlled all these artists, which resulted in oversaturation. I believe rock will have another resurgence, all because of the idea of freedom of expression. And one of the core values that rock cherishes is freedom. Thank you for your time.